buy, sell, profit, make so much money. That's what people think day trading is all about. They think that you have to constantly be in a trade. If the stock market's open, I gotta be trading, right? That's what the common idea for people about day trading is, that people think you gotta just be all in all the time, buy, sell, just constantly be trading. But what if I told you the key, the big focus for day traders is to not take a trade? The hardest thing about trading is to know when not to trade. Today is a perfect example. We ended up making money as this thing pushed up to the 980 area this morning, had that big drop. We had the bounce back. We killed it on the live stream. But it got to a point where the market started grinding, and we were kind of just grinding in this area. We were stuck at the 80s, and we just kind of weren't really going anywhere. We had a little breakdown here, but look at this move towards the end of the day. So look at this. You're basically just going sideways in this move. If you look at the SPY, the pivot point here, look at how we're just ding, 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 ding. No real direction, right? Let's say you try to short here, you get stopped out. You then end up trying to buy the breakout here, you get stopped out. It's over and over. Like, it's so easy to get chopped up. And it's funny because it happens so quickly. Like, before you know it, you're like, hey, I'm only taking small losers, right? I can trade this chop. I can take little losers. I'll get one big winner and I'm going to win. But before you know it, you've had 5 trades, you've had 5 losers. Even if those 5 losers are only $100, $200, it adds up quickly, and it starts to take a toll on your mental and your mental capacity, right? It starts to take a toll on you, not just your capital, but it starts to take a toll on you. So what happens? You end up going on tilt, you end up not doing what you need to do, and you start making bad trades. And before you know it, you're down $1,000 on the day. But look at this. Look at how beautiful this in-a-day move was. We can see that we had that support there. We kept getting stuck at the VWAP. So where's my short entry? I mean, my short entry really on this move is to wait for the break below the pivot point. We want to see the pivot point turn into resistance. Well, you might say, well, Patrick, we broke below the pivot before. Why didn't we go short there? Look at this candle. So we dipped down to the 95 there. We pushed right back up. The bottom of that candle, big wick on the bottom of that candle. So we didn't really get a close that was bearish. It was more like just kind of a fake out there. And we kept going sideways until the end of the day, where you can see how these candles, we kind of bounced right there. And then this candle right here, very different looking, right? You have that wick right there at that pivot. You got that wick right there, 395. And then this next one, kind of a little bit of doji, and then the dump. Hey, if you guys enjoy the live streams, you enjoy the channel, you enjoy these videos, do me one big favor. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Do you battle this idea of trading the chop? What is your biggest issue when it comes to trading? Maybe I'll make a video talking about how you can avoid those big issues in the future. But for now, let's talk about how to avoid losing money in a choppy market. If you look at the ES here, this is basically a textbook breakdown. We got tight right here. We broke to the downside, and then your entry is literally as we start to break to the downside, especially after this candle right here. I think the best entry, obviously, you know, in hindsight here, but your entry is the break below the low of this candle. So the low of that candle right there was 959. Your entry is the low there, and you're getting short and you're riding this down. You know, where's your target at? Your target's pretty much, I guess, at that point, the low of day, maybe here as well. We had a little bit of a bounce at that 40 area. So you got short at the 60s. You had a 20 handle move down to the 40s. And then after that, look at how beautiful this played out. But the problem is, if you ended up getting chopped up throughout this move here and you were just mad and you were on tilt, I guarantee you probably missed out on this move, because you either walked away on being red on the day, you walked away with just, you know, no real idea of what to do, because at that point you're frustrated, you're mad. So that's why it's so important to understand that being patient and waiting for these good moves, waiting for a good setup, is so much more important than just trying to trade, you know, taking trade, going all crazy. I've been there, I've done that. I know exactly what it's like. Trust me, guys. I know what it's like to take 100 trades on the day, to be on tilt. I've done that. I've done that so many times. And I'm trying to explain this in a way that I'm not trying to say that, hey, I'm an expert here. I'm trying to come to you from a point of experience. I have experience doing exactly what you've gone through. That choppy section where you just can't figure it out. Another really telling way to see that it's choppy is, I love the MACD for this. Like, look at the MACD. You know, the MACD just really not doing much, kind of barely breaking out here. We had that little high here, The MACD just having trouble, you know, kind of down here. We're just chopping around, just do choppy action. The MACD kind of just looks choppy, right? Like I feel like if I look at the MACD here, it's choppy. Where you can see this move to the downside. Look at this thing. Just got murdered to the downside. So really kind of a different picture, and being able to see there on the MACD that we just really haven't been pushing momentum wise through those levels from earlier. Well, it's telling us like, hey, you know, I probably shouldn't be trading this because the chop's just too real. And it's so important to really focus on just what is going on with the chart. You know, are we breaking the downside? Yes, you know, we broke the downside there. We kind of put in that little low, bouncing off that previous area of support right here. You know, the problem with shorting here at the 60s is, you know, that there's support there at the 55s going across there at that point. So really you're kind of like waiting for this to sell off there end of day below the 55s, you know, getting that short right there. Was this a bad short from this right here? But, you know, not a terrible short. It just didn't work out. You got short at the 63s. Maybe you got covered here, break even or less. But in general, you know, that move there at the end of the day is always going to be a little bit stronger there in the power hour. People are going to say, well, this is in hindsight. Yeah, you're a genius in hindsight. But I think it's a pretty easy argument that no matter what, even in hindsight, you would have known that this was just chop, and there's no reason to trade it. Like, there's just no reason to trade that chop. So just stay out of it. And again, I feel like I've made this video 100 times, but people keep asking me the same thing. They're like, what do I do when the market's choppy? You don't do anything. You just wait. You literally just wait for a good setup. Once that good setup comes, then you take it. The problem is that if you sit here and you get chopped up over and over, you get chopped up, what happens when this move here happens? You're going to be maybe less willing to take that trade because you've already got chopped up. You're also maybe red on the day now, and you're like, oh man, like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I'm red. I'm losing money. And you become emotional because at this point, you've already just got chopped up and you don't know what to do. You're at a point where you're kind of giving up, or maybe you're trying to buy the dip here and then it goes lower and then you're getting more and more upset, more emotional. Maybe you're holding on to a loser all the way down here. The best thing you can do is just to have extreme patience. Even if you miss a move, if the move happens and you miss it, that's totally fine. You just kind of wait. You're like, hey, I missed it. Like, there's no rush. There's no requirement that you place a certain amount of trades per day. There's no requirement that you even place a trade. There's going to be days where the market is just simply not giving good setups. Then there's going to be days where the market's hot and you're like, hey, this is when I want to hit the gas pedal. You know, that's when I want to press on the gas pedal. And I think one of the biggest issue for new day traders is knowing when to press the gas pedal and knowing when to press the brake. If you look at some of the best traders in the world, what do? When they're hot, when the market's hot, they're getting the setups, they press the gas pedal, they double down, they go bigger, right? And then when the market's not giving them setups, when they're not getting good trades, they pull back. They start to slow down. They press the brake. Instead of trying to double down, instead of trying to triple down when they're having issues, they start to pull back and they reduce their risk. Where when the market's hot and you're like, hey, this is a good setup, that's when you double down. You press the gas pedal, right? You got to press the gas pedal when the market's hot. And then when the market's not, you got to press the brake. You got to back up and take a look and be like, hey, look, I'm not taking a trade here. Like, I don't like it. I don't like the movements. There's totally fine. Like, I think it's really rewarding to be able to look at the chart and be like, hey, I don't like this. I don't like this movement. I don't like the moves. I don't want to be a part of this. It's totally like, it's like liberating, right? It's liberating to be able to look at the chart and be like, well, I don't like that move. I don't like the movie. I'm not going to take it. Like, that is such a good feeling. I'm telling you, like, to be able to like look at the chart and tell yourself that you don't like the move, and then to see that it doesn't work out, and like, you know, it works out in your favor where you didn't take a trade and then it ends up not doing or doing exactly what you thought it would in terms of like pulling back or chopping. Like, that is such a good feeling. I'm telling you that that's a better feeling than making money. Like, it honestly is. Like, I have days where I look at the chart and I'm like, hey, I don't like this. I don't like what's going on. And then later on, I am right. Like, I'm good. Like, I figure out that, hey, I had the right intuition. I had the right idea to not take a trade. And I honestly, like, I get more of a reward from that type of setup or that type of scenario where I end up avoiding a loss because I didn't take the trade. Like, I love that because I get so much more of a reward over just taking $1,000 profit. Like, you know, hey, you made profit. Cool. You did what you had to do. But being able to look at the chart and not take a trade and to be patient and then get rewarded for that, that is a much better reward. It's a 100% much better reward to be able to not take a trade and then not take a loss. Like, I feel so good about that. Yes, there's times where I don't take a trade, the market goes higher or the market goes lower, and I'm like, well, hey, it is what it is. But still, like, there's always something about those trades that I'm like, hey, at least, it was a little choppy, or it didn't do exactly what, the market didn't, whatever. Like, in general, it's nice to be right? It's nice to be right, and being right sometimes is not taking the trade. Like, that's part of it. Like, if you're not in the trade, you don't take profit. If you're not in the trade and the market goes sideways and you avoid a loss, like, that's a win. That's a serious win, my friends. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe button, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe button, all the buttons down below. I'll tell you guys later on. Let's go.